Welcome, and thank you for joining us today for a Land Services SA webinar on how to prepare an application for community titles. This is a pre-recorded session with a live Q&A session at the end of this presentation. We ask you to kindly hold all your questions until the allocated time, where one of our subject matter experts will be able to assist. Land Services SA is committed to providing an excellent customer experience. One way we continue to deliver value to the industry is through our industry education program, where we produce a range of helpful educational materials, hold regular webinars, and host industry events. Our industry education program addresses key topics or frequently asked questions to ensure you remain up to date with contemporary practices. We want to help set you up for success and believe helping with industry education will help reduce the volume of requisitions, meaning a quicker and more seamless experience for your clients. Land Services SA's subject matter experts assist in delivering our industry education program, utilising their years of experience and respected place in the industry. This webinar was prepared by Jamie Heinrich, one of our property examiners with over 20 years experience within Land Services SA. In this session, we will be covering an overview of the application for community titles, or ACT dealing. We have included examples and some key points to remember. We hope this will help you in preparing the ACT document that is required when you are trying to deposit a community plan and create new community titles. After completing the new plan number and development number, the next panel to complete is the type of scheme. Firstly, is this a new or existing scheme? An existing scheme is a building unit scheme in existence as of the 22nd of February 1968. There are two systems of unit ownership that may apply: company titles and cross leases. Company titles involve a company being the registered proprietor of the land, and each unit owner has shares in the company. Cross leases, which are also known as less than entirety titles or moiety titles, involve each unit owner being the registered proprietor of a share of the land, then leasing their unit, together with rights to use the common areas, from the other registered proprietors of the land. Where the existing company or moiety titles are to be converted to community titles, the type of scheme is to be shown as existing in the ACT dealing, and the new community plan will be a community strata. This will avoid the need to pay open space with the State Planning Commission. However, if the applicant chooses to process the conversion as a new scheme, then open space will be payable. Section 5 of the Community Title Applications Preparation Notes provides further assistance on existing schemes. If this scenario does not apply, then the scheme is a new scheme. The second part of the type of scheme panel that is to be completed is whether the plan is a primary, secondary, or tertiary plan. The first community plan lodged over Real Property Act land is referred to as a primary or primary strata community plan. Tiering allows for a community plan to be lodged over a community lot in the primary plan. This second plan is referred to as a secondary plan of community division. The Act also allows for a community plan to be lodged over a lot in the secondary plan. This plan is referred to as a tertiary plan of community division. For a plan to be tiered, there must be a minimum of 2 lots, not including a development lot or common property. Staging is amending an existing community plan to further divide a lot or development lot into multiple lots that will remain in the same plan and retain the same plan number. This is different to tiering and requires the lodgement of an AP dealing, being an amendment to community plan dealing. In relation to the dealing, please be aware that if multiple ACT dealings are to be lodged in series for multiple tiers, ensure the land description in the ACT for the secondary and tertiary plans contains the correct portion of land description. For example, in the scenario shown, the land description in the ACT for the secondary plan is to show Lot 11 in C40500 being portion of the land in the relevant certificate of title. The other thing to remember is that the LF dealings must be consistent between the primary, secondary and tertiary plans. It is important to know when each of the accompanying LF dealings is required to be lodged with the ACT. If the scheme description or development contract are not required, then they must be struck through in Section 3 of the application to the Registrar General. Bylaws are a compulsory document for all new community schemes and set out the rules for the operation of the scheme. The scheme description describes the characteristics of the scheme and the nature and scope of any further development. The development contract describes in detail any further development of a community scheme and binds the developer to complete the development described in the contract. For more detail, please refer to the LF document webinar on our website. When completing the address of the corporation, ensure that the address is exactly as per the current land division certificate, and ensure the address is the postal address for the site. If you believe the postal address of the site shown on the land division certificate is incorrect, you will need to contact the State Planning Commission and have it corrected. In the mode of issue, the common property is to be included only once, no matter how many separate portions exist on the plan. Do not use C1 or C2 if they are shown on the plan, as this is not a legal land identifier. When entering the name of the corporation, ensure this is the full name as it will appear on the title, including NO dot and Inc. dot, and just the plan number, not C99999. For example, Community Corporation number 99999 Inc. Make sure the address is exactly as per the address of Corporation Panel and the Land Division Certificate. Lastly, the Estates and Interest Panel is to show nil against the common property unless the land is subject to a statutory encumbrance, a lease or an interest in a lease, in which case consideration will need to be given as to whether or not this is remaining over the common property or being rescinded or surrendered as disclosed on the consent form. In accordance with Section 23(7)(b) of the Community Titles Act 1996, an encumbrance, which includes a mortgage, will not be registered on the certificate for the common property, and the encumbrance will be taken to be discharged to that extent. Therefore, a mortgage or encumbrance do not need to be adjusted, and the pre-printed statements are not required. Please note, this example relates to the scenario where there is only one title involved in the community division, no easements are being created, extinguished or varied, and the mortgage is being carried forward over all of the new lots. For any other scenarios, the pre-printed statements may be applicable. It is a lodgement requirement to include an original lot entitlement sheet with the ACT dealing. Please ensure the template that is available on the Land Services SA website has been used. Development lots, roads, reserves, and common property are not to be included on the lot entitlement sheet. The certification is to be dated within 6 months prior to the lodgement date. The Registrar General may reject the lot entitlement sheet if the Land Valuer Certificate is dated more than 6 months before the application is lodged with Land Services SA. Ensure the plan number and development number are completed by the valuer prior to lodgement. The sheet numbering does not continue on from the plan. Therefore, in the majority of cases, the sheet is to be numbered 1 of 1, unless there are multiple pages to the lot entitlement sheet. When the plan contains lot comprising pieces, this is to be reflected in the lot entitlement sheet. Please refer to the lot entitlement sheet guidance notes for further information. Some other common requisitions to be aware of include the following. When preparing an ACT dealing, you will need to ensure the dealing is assessed for stamp duty purposes and the stamp duty ID shown on the out of cover. In the mode of issue, any new road or reserve parcels are to be referred to as allotments and not lots. No new title fees are required for the common property, roads or reserves. Ensure the consent form is executed correctly. Further detail can be found in the Consent Form webinar in the Industry Education Hub. If the name of an applicant or consenting party has changed, an application to change their name should precede the ACT dealing. I hope this webinar has provided some assistance when preparing the ACT form. For future reference, here is a summary of some of the key points to remember. Number 1. Always check if this is an existing building unit scheme prior to 1968. Number 2. Ensure there are no inconsistencies between the LF dealings for each tier. Number 3. Determine if a scheme description or development contract is required. Number 4. Accurately complete the name of the corporation in full and the address of the corporation as shown on the Land Division Certificate. Number 5. Encumbrances and mortgages are discharged over the common property by operation of the Act and do not need to be adjusted on the consent form. And finally, number 6. The lot entitlement sheet is to be certified within 6 months of the lodgement date. Land Services SA's website has a range of educational and support materials to assist you in your day-to-day work. Our Industry Education Hub is a good place to start. This can be found by clicking Industry Education Hub on the home page of LSSA's website. A copy of today's webinar will be published on the Industry Education Hub together with recordings of previously held webinars. That concludes the recorded webinar section. Thank you for listening. Please remain online for the live Q&A session with our subject matter experts.